Tim Mosso. This is Watches Today at the 1916 Company. And today, we're buying a $1 million watch. I am buying a $1 million watch and you are coming with me. Plus, viewer wrist shots today on Watches Today. Guys, while we're warming up, do me a favor, check out Tim_Mosso on Instagram. I'm always happy to see my regulars over there on the threads. We have thousands of 60-second watch videos, plus a recent update from the Squash family pug. That's over on Tim_Mosso on Instagram. I asked, you answered. Viewer wrist shots number 1. Jas leads off with a spectacular color-coordinated papaya orange set. His Chris Ward Belcanto and McLaren 765 LT. Dr. B returns with his stunning vintage Patek Philippe 3744 quartz and Bentley Bentayga SUV. We have Jeff S. Killer with his Vacheron Constantin overseas retrograde date moon phase, maybe the most interesting and unusual of the overseas collection. Doug of Scotland rolls on the Isle of Harris with his Omega Seamaster Aquaterra Chronograph GMT and Porsche Cayenne. We have Paul of Chicago, who prepares to board at O'Hare in the morning with his 1994 Rolex GMT Master Pepsi bezel. And yes, it is a GMT Master, not Master 2. Justin F. is a knockout with his vintage platinum Vacheron Constantin 333 quartz with 9 o'clock date. Guys, this exists. Send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at the1916company.com to see your wrist on my list. The opposite of affordable today, $1 million watches. All right, we've explored best buys in depth. I've talked about depreciation, smart alternatives, unlocking value, and why Mito is pretty much unbeatable for the money. It is. But nobody needs a luxury watch at all, and at any price whatsoever. Let's face it, all luxury watches exist on a spectrum of emotion and desire where purely practical concerns eventually vanish. And today we are going all the way to the end of that sliding scale. We've talked about how to spend $2,000, $5,000, yes, that's a real bill, and $10,000 to get good value on a watch, a real world watch, for a working man who's saved up for an occasion. But what if we decide to set a price floor instead of a price ceiling? Now that's when things get bonkers, and we're going there. Today, it's time to rock and roll, throw caution to the wind, and live large. It's time to dream, and we're dreaming big once more. How big? How about $1 million to start? And no, we're not accepting any watch that leaves any change whatsoever from Dr. Evil's ransom money. $1 million is where we start, and it's only going up from there. What does it buy? Let's find out. So the opposite of affordable watches, $1 million watches. The show, this concept, it started as sort of an economic enterprise. I had a number in mind. It seemed fairly quantitative at first, but it quickly morphed into a study of human psychology. The first thing you realize about $1 million watches is that most watches in this price range often reflect priorities that aren't shared by most watch collectors. Even those who have $1 million to spend on a watch generally don't. That's why Rolex and Cartier have been so successful with watches that in most cases are priced well under $50,000. Vintage, rare, complicated, and above all, exclusive things often hit $1 million for emotional reasons rather than substantive ones. And it's a rare case that a person has both the budget and the inclination to seek one out. Consider the used 2021 Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711 1A 18. This is a purely emotional purchase. When I searched to find examples for this show, I discovered that I'm more likely to spend $2 million than $1 million to secure one. Why? That's harder to say. As the last of the steel 5711s in 2021 and a 170-piece limited edition, it has some objective rarity and historic value, but we're still talking about a mass-produced 5711 that originally retailed for $52,635 if you could get one new, and is largely distinguished from all of the other steel Nautilus made since 2006 by its Tiffany co-signed turquoise dial. That's basically it right there. Okay, so far this seems straightforward, but maybe there's more here than meets the eye. Now we're delving 1 yard below the minds of the average analyst. After all, we know that LVMH owns Tiffany, and it's been a Patek Philippe retailer since decades before the American Civil War. That's right, before the Monitor fought the Virginia, and it was the Virginia as a Confederate ironclad, it was the Merrimack as a Union ship. But decades prior to that, Tiffany and Patek had a relationship, and it continues. But there's an interloper. While speculation is always fun and often goes off the rails, there's surprisingly little whimsy to this type of speculation. What's that? Let's look closer. That's a good question. A closer look at that caseback reveals an Easter egg to put Marvel movie mid-credit teasers to shame. Take that, Spider-Man. Ultimately, we have to wonder whether these 170 final run 5711s were really intended to be the end of the model, which they were, or the beginning of something else entirely, which they may yet be. Guys, let me know in the comments below what you think of that little Easter egg on the caseback, because I found it incredibly intriguing and a little bit more exciting even than Tiffany on the dial side. View wrist shots number 2. Let's see what you got coming, guys. Starting big with Juan F. He is in Victoria, Australia, in a mosh pit at Upchuck's concert with his Grand Seiko Spring Drive. Stay safe, my man. Live to tell the tale. We got Seth K. of Redondo Beach, California, with a very Beach Boys shot at dusk or the morning with his IWC Portofino hand-wound 8 days slate dial in the golden light. Luciano M. Where's my favorite JLC? The Master Compressor Memovox, which I recommend as the only watch if you can only have one, alongside Canada Cacti in Vancouver. Unexpected. We have Russell H. of the UK, who visits British Watchmakers Alliance Day with his Fears Brunswick 40, which is actually a Alliance event special edition in sterling with a lacquer dial. Nicholas, you've done well. Kyle A. and his Blancpain 50 Fathom Scuba, I need to buy one of those by the way, is on Lookout K on the waterfront with the Disney Destiny docked in the background. Guys, keep them coming. Send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at the1916company.com to see your passion in this fashion. The opposite of affordable $1 million watches. There are two kinds of Richard Mille, just as there are two kinds of Rolls-Royce. If you're merely rich, then you get yourself a Rolls-Royce Ghost, which we all know is based substantially on the F01 BMW 7 Series, and you get yourself an RM67. Still a good watch, still a good car, but the point is, for both brands, this is the entry level. This is the price of getting in the door. This is not where this insanity leads. Oh, no, 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 no. If you are master of the universe rich, or you are the emperor of mankind from Warhammer 40,000, then you buy Rolls-Royce Phantom and you get yourself an RM5301 Pablo McDonough. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay, I was at Watches and Wonders in 2000, I guess it wasn't Watches and Wonders in 2018, it was SIHH, wasn't it? Back when we had the SIHH at the same PAL Expo Center that now holds Watches and Wonders. This watch debuted, and I have to say, for all of my skepticism, even cynicism about RM, this watch had me convinced. So, Pablo McDonough, who plays polo professionally, talked about getting his skull crushed as a child competitor in the sport. And later on, when he was given an RM10 as an ambassador, just to test it out in competition, he utterly destroyed it. And yes, that's the guy getting crushed by his own horse after a hard takedown. This might be the most savage and damaging and dangerous sport I have ever seen, including motorsports, including hockey. Absolutely outrageous, and that RM on his wrist did not go the distance. So, they needed something special. The first RM53 Pablo is actually my favorite. It's a bit of a weird watch. It's got a tourbillon seconds hand, it's got a time display, all recessed under a hardened titanium carbide hood designed to protect it from polo mallet impacts. Those 15 pieces, if you can find them, sell for over $1 million today. But I realize this is what I seek in an RM. This is not what most people who want an RM seek in an RM. This is full tonneau, iconic design, instantly recognizable, but there is as much substance as style here. Hear me out. Audemars Piguet Renaud et Papy constructed this just like it constructs all the top-level RMs, so this has real horological pedigree. You have a case made of TPT carbon fibers that you couldn't scratch with the serrations of a Bowie knife. And laminated glass crystals on this RM53 are built up like bulletproof glass. You may be able to crack it, you will not be able to shatter them. Moreover, RM created an internal system of 10 pulleys, 4 tensioners, and 2 high-tension steel wound cables, each 1/4 of a millimeter thick, to suspend this movement and provide 5,000 G shock compliance to dissipate impacts before they reach the titanium caliber and its tourbillon regulator. It's got 70 hours of power reserve too, so even though so much space is given over to shock absorption, you still have a respectable power reserve and auto-logerie finish, so nothing is withheld. Richard Mille was incredibly friendly and accessible when I met with them without an appointment at the SIHH that year, and it was a lot of fun because they were very friendly people, and it was the opposite of what I expected. There was zero pretense. They also proudly showed me a feature that I wish were universal in the luxury watch space and not just at the $1 million price point: a Velcro strap. Infinite adjustability, light, easy to use, super comfortable. This is something every brand should offer. I adore it. The RM5301 cost $900,000 back then, which adjusted for today's inflated dollars must be $1 million. But if you actually try to find one in today's dollars, you're more likely to pay twice its original retail than $1 million. Good luck, guys. But I will say, having experienced it, probably worth the money. I can say with conviction, this was a rare case when Richard Mille's corporate vision, my personal taste, and the pricing logic of a watch all seemed to align. This looked and felt like a $1 million watch. Viewers Chats number 3. I asked, you answered, and it's a good set too. We have P. Ralph, Cleveland, Ohio, celebrating the spacefaring and airgoing Snoopy with his Zinn ST-140 purchased from Armand at the 1916 company. Thank you for trusting our team. Shamal D impresses with green alligator on his Kudoka 2 by Stefan Kudoka. That's a really nice match for the anthracite dial. Jorge E. of Texas, USA shares his Mito Multifort Datometer 100th anniversary, and I love those alpha hands. Check out those flame lugs too. Well done, Mito. Well done, Jorge. Mitch E. is in the office where his grandfather's LeCoultre Memovox from the 1950s shares space with his own tribute to V12 engines, which he loves. And Dr. Sanchito joins us from Brisbane, Australia with his Tudor Black Bay rolling in his Hyundai. The opposite of affordable, $1 million watches, guys. Let's consider a high luxury watch that costs $1 million because of the person who made it. Not because of image, not because it is highly complicated, not because it comes from a massive corporate brand name. No, the Roger W. Smith Series 4, here with my own photos from the article I wrote and photographed for Quill and Pad. Head over, see my extended thoughts, but we're going to use these photos here. This is one such watch that crossed my desk, and I wrote my thoughts down, but I'm going to share a précis here. Smith is famous for his apprenticeship with and formally anointed role as the successor to George Daniels of Britain. That relationship has governed every decision from where he works, that's the Triskelion, symbol of the Isle of Man, to the methodology he uses, to the movement architecture, to the coaxial escapement that was invented by Daniels, licensed to Omega, and still used and evolved by Smith. Plus, the finishing that Smith uses is a tribute to Daniels and historic 18th century British watches, which means it's idiosyncratic and distinctive, not eye-wateringly beautiful in all cases. And follow me here. In other words, you're going to pay $1 million for a watch because of who makes it, and the price is more defensible because the watch embodies the life's work of not one, but two legendary watchmakers, Smith and Daniels. Roger does not charge $1 million for his watches, but anything this rare and sought after becomes a hot commodity once on the open market. The difficulty of being approved to buy one and the lead time associated with its manufacture are reasons why a person would pay 7 figures for the privilege of owning it right now. And I don't think they would be disappointed, but they need to know what they're getting. And they need to be on board with the way Roger makes watches and his philosophy of watchmaking. If all you want is a simple calendar watch, I shot a comparison of this with the JLC that you could buy for like 1% of the price. And the JLC will be technically advanced and in some ways superior to the Smith, but it will not be more soulful or distinctive. There are no living Jaeger or Lecoultre making those watches. Daniels and Smith live in the Series 4. So, you don't buy a Roger Smith for elaborate finishing. I think that's probably a misconception. He works in the tradition of Daniels and British watchmaking historically. So the caliber decoration here, which you can see, bridges, as well as the ratchet wheel and crown wheel cover, incredibly austere. Look at those edges. No anglage, completely squared off. But with the engraving, the frosting, and the satination, you have a tribute to a time, an era, and a style, not an attempt to gild the lily. This is historically literate, and you need to be on board with that when you buy it. If all you want is epic bevels and Baroque decoration, you can get 50 other watches that do it better than Smith. You pay for imperfect engraving, not perfect engraving, obvious human involvement, no two made exactly alike, and decoration that is used sparingly and thus more beautiful for its scarcity in this watch. Remember the coaxial from before? That escape wheel bridge is the only extensively polished and beveled part of the whole movement to dignify and highlight the innovation of Daniels. And you can see why it's called coaxial. You have those crenellated inner impulsing surfaces inboard of the flat outboard impulsing surfaces on one axis, which is the axis of the pivot of the wheel. That's what you're paying for. Smith's dial work is second to none and hugely distinctive. Look at those tracks in precious metal. Look how it's pinned and screwed together over multiple layers. Look at the hand lacquering. Look at that beautiful spade-like tip on almost a violet brown fired hand. Everything here is modeled after British historical convention and actually made in the same fashion. This kind of hand-turned precious metal layered approach is as British as roast beef, Morgan sports cars, and HMS Warrior. Here you pay a $1 million price to own something rare, imperfect, and redolent of the values and experience of its creator and his master before him. And I'll say this, Roger was friendly and easy to approach and accessible and incredibly quick to respond to my email when I sent him a quick question about technical features of his watches. Literally the next day, he sent me an extended explanation. I'm not rich, I'm not a customer, I'm not an owner. That shows an incredible degree of respect and passion for watchmaking, as well as decency. Roger's a good guy. So, I can see that I endorse the man behind that watch, both in philosophy and personally. But from a more personal standpoint, my background as a collector is steeped in Jaeger Lecoultre. And while there may be no Jaeger or Lecoultre working today, that does not mean there are no masters. And I needed a JLC to cap this bonfire of retirement savings. The Reverso Hybris Quadriptyque does exactly that. So, if you buy a Nautilus, mostly on image and name, you buy a Roger Smith on personality, and you buy the RM on a combination of style and substance, the JLC is a 100% engineering and finishing purchase. This is a very left-brained watch. You can see what you're paying for. And the engineering is world class. This watch has 4, yes, 4, can we go back real quick? 4 dials. And after the triptyque of 2006, which had 3 dials, this has 4 functional faces in its revolving case. Guys, this is a watch that has a 10-piece edition and 11 complications. One of the few cases I can remember where a watch has more complications than units made. So, with those 4 faces, what are you getting? Let's go face by face. Face 1, hour, minute, flying tourbillon indicating the second. You have Instantaneous perpetual calendar, big date, day, month, leap year, night and day, engine turned dial. Phase 2, jumping digital hour with minutes. Minute repeater, and yes, it has a system to avoid dead time. So if there are no quarters, it will skip right over those to the minute. A very advanced system. Phase 3, which you can see right next to it, Northern Hemisphere moon phase, draconic lunar cycle, which gives you the height of the moon, anomalistic lunar cycle with apogee and perigee, month and year. Oh, and that little Earth you see down in the corner, hand-painted fired enamel. Phase 4, Southern Hemisphere moon phase, with the stars and individual numbering. It's all in white gold. Also, look at the martelage that surrounds it, that chiseling, beautifully done. It's huge at 31 millimeters wide by 51.2 top to bottom, so I can't wear it, and that's a very good thing for my financial future. But if you can, you should. The Reverso you see here cost between 1.5 and 1.7 million US dollars when it debuted back in 2021, and it's safe to say if you find one, there will be no discounts. Viewer wrist shots number 4, Ben 10, always a favorite of mine, surfaces a 1980s limited edition JLC classic triple calendar moon phase that used a vintage new old stock movement from the Jacques David Lecoultre tribute watch of the late 40s. Tony S. proudly displays his Seiko Prospex SPB 321 diver. Stephen E., a longtime supporter of the show, selected this lovely mid-century inspired Le Bois Eco Heritage chronograph. We have Warren P. and his Rajamir in Columbia, South Carolina, watching the Gamecocks versus the Crimson Tide. And Andrew H. takes us home with his Longines Ultrachron Classic 37mm and sea anemones at the aquarium in Branson, Missouri, and he added that the anemones felt sticky. Okay guys, thank you so much. Now let me know in the comments below, what would you buy if you had to buy a minimum 7-figure watch? And it couldn't be a collection or set, it's got to be one big piece. Thanks to you, thanks to Sid, time out, and I'll see you next week.